Welcome back to Art Practice ASMR. Indie games are great because they basically allow developers to make whatever passion project they want to make and have full, crazy creative control over their own ideas. Indie games are also great because they allow the fans to directly support whatever they think deserves their money. I thought that to even further support the games I absolutely love from developers who I also love, I would make this video where I talk about 4 indie games that I recommend and hope that you guys show them some love as well. So here we go with the recommendations. This first game is one that I'm sure you've heard of. It's been out for a very long time, and it got massively popular when it was released, and it's for a very good reason that it did. This first game is a 2D isometric hack and slash game called Bastion. It's made by Supergiant Games, and it is an excellent game. The story of Bastion is a story of destruction and rebirth and exploration. You play as a kid named the Kid, and you wake up to find out that an apocalypse called the Calamity happened, and the entire world as you knew it is destroyed. And it is your mission to search around the remnants of the world to discover what's left and try to rebuild it for a better future. There is so much that I absolutely love about this game, and I think I should start with the first thing that anyone will notice when playing this game, is that it has a brilliantly interesting concept around it, and it's very innovative. This game is an exploration adventure game, and usually in exploration games, there's this thing called the fog of the world that obstructs your field of vision so you can't really see what's ahead. And this game has a very interesting take on that idea, where instead of having a haze blurring your vision that you aren't supposed to see, in this world, the world builds itself around you as you explore. And I thought that was something that was very unique and very, very cool, because you never really know what's ahead until it builds in front of you. The way to do this is they have the floor rise up as you take your steps, and then you get to a certain area for battling or exploration, and it builds itself around you as an arena. And it's just something that really adds to the game and makes it really, really cool. I feel like I've said cool way too much in a sentence, but this game is definitely cool. Another very innovative thing is that this entire game is completely narrated. There is a narrator character in this game, and he is talking to you since step 1 of the game. Actually, he talks to you since before step 1. And the interesting thing about this narrator is that he describes absolutely everything and has something witty to say for everything. And you're probably thinking to yourself, there's no way they thought of everything, every single action, that a player could do. There's no way that absolutely everything is narrated. And as far as my playthroughs went, it seems like they had a narration for everything. And it was actually pretty fun to just do random things and see what they recorded dialogue for. It really added something to the aesthetics of the game, and even a fun little meta layer. Speaking of aesthetics, this game is pure aesthetic. I don't know if that made sense. But this game is filled with very pure emotions of sadness and hope and just similar feelings of listlessness and triumph. Those all sound those all sound like antonyms, but they all make sense when you play the game. But this game is pure, interesting aesthetics, and that all works in with several different layers. There's the incredible art style, which seemed to be a mix of 2D and 3D elements that were really, really cool. There's also the aspect of everything within the game. How the world builds itself around you or falls apart around you. But even the world building within the game, such as finding totems of the gods of the world. And the totems are actually something interesting. You might think that they would just be some, fun collectible thing, and they are. But when you find the totems, you can actually use them to enter a New Game Plus kind of hard mode, where they add difficulty to the game itself. So you can activate totems as like a tribute to a god, and it will add or take away some element of the game to make it harder, and you get a ton of benefits for it. Another amazing aesthetic in this game is the beautifully incredible soundtrack that this has. Bastion has a soundtrack that is filled with incredible acoustic instrumentals and folk style music, and those aren't necessarily genres that I would listen to on my own, but this soundtrack opened me up to a bunch of really interesting music that I actually listen to even when I'm not playing the game. This game has songs that genuinely get stuck in your head, and you really don't mind humming it along all day. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't played this game in a really long time, and I'm actually really excited to be talking about it. That I'm sure I'm forgetting some brilliant thing that this game had that I'm accidentally excluding. But this game is just so fun and interesting and well made that I definitely recommend it to anyone. And if you're someone who isn't particularly good at games, don't worry, this game isn't too difficult. But if you do like extra difficulty, this game does have hard modes, especially with the totems that I described earlier. Anyway, here is the kid from Bastion. This next game is one that was actually made with a very small staff of people. This is a JRPG called Light. That's one word, Light. And this game is one that I absolutely love. But that could be said for any game on this list, I guess. This game is actually 3 games in one, but that's because I bought the bundle on Steam. In the world of Light, there are creatures who are born out of strong emotion. These creatures are called dragons. And dragons aren't like the typical scaly creatures that you imagine. Dragons are humanoid creatures with horns that manifest their powers in different ways. Their powers are all tied to the wish that brought them to life. This game series follows a man who goes by many names, and his dragon Effie, who has the ability to detect and eat lies, hence the name Light. I really hope that story sounded as interesting to you as it did to me, because the story is actually one of my favorite things about the game, and it's actually the main draw for me. As I said, Light is a JRPG, and it does have a lot of the traditional facets of the average JRPG. It has the Final Fantasy original style top-down view, and it has the classic turn-based RPG battle system. But those aspects of the JRPG aren't the main focus of the game. This game actually plays a lot like a visual novel, but a very interesting hybrid of a JRPG and a traditional visual novel, where there are the battle aspects, but then there are very important story-based aspects. And I would say that this game, even though it has the battling, it is way more driven by the narrative and the choice that you get when doing certain things than it is through the battle. And the drive of all these games is way more geared towards the solving of a particular mystery than all of that regular JRPG stuff. And I found that to be very cool and very ambitious and maybe at times innovative. I don't know. But I think the thing that I absolutely love about this game is the care that the developer puts into them. The Light games are all made by a Japanese person named Miwashiba. And this person likes to remain anonymous, so they go through that screen name, and they have their own little avatar. So nobody knows who they are or what they look like. And I completely understand the want to be anonymous. But you can definitely tell that this person has a ton of passion put into their games, and a lot of that is very evident through Light. In Light, there is absolutely nothing that I would call dull or boring. Everything is just pure aesthetic and personality. Even the menus in this game are glowing, and the dialogue boxes have cute little anime character art. And this game even has its own cutscenes, and not just like little sprite cutscenes. It actually has anime cutscenes in it. And I think it's pretty ambitious, especially because I'm pretty sure most of this game is made by one person. I think Miwashiba does all of the game design stuff and drawing, but the music and definitely the professional English translation are done by other people. And I think that the thing that impresses me so much about that is just the pure drive that Miwashiba must have to be doing all of this. Light 1 is the second game they made, I think. The first being a game called Alismere, which is a horror RPG that I personally didn't like that much. But after they worked on all three Light games, they made a 2D side-scrolling visual novel, of all things, called One Bit Heart. And that's another game that bleeds so much personality as Light does. And I think there is a lot of determination put into these things. And that's because of something that sort of happens behind the scenes. Miwashiba said that One Bit Heart would be their last game, and that they would focus on making other things. And they did do that. They've done some concept art for the Vocaloid project, and they've even made their own novel for the Light series. But shortly after doing all of that, they announced that they're going back into game making, and that the current game that they're going to be releasing would be their last game. But shortly after more stuff of their current game was released, they announced that they're making yet another game, and it will be a sequel to One Bit Heart. And so my impression of all of that is that Miwashiba is someone who might be a bit of a workaholic, that when they're sitting still, they feel like they should be working on something else, and that they can't just put down their creative process for just a minute to relax. And I think that's something that's really interesting to me, and I just like their ambition and their drive. This next game is one called Azure Striker Gunvolt, and for a game that I am currently playing, it is one that I know the least about, and you're gonna have to bear with me as I try to explain it. But first, I should probably just give you a recommendation. If you like games like Mega Man X or Mega Man Zero, then you will definitely like Gunvolt. Gunvolt is very clearly inspired by those games and is filled with homages and stuff. And I think that if you're a fan of those, you will definitely be a fan of this. And I definitely flubbed some words there, so, bear with me as my mouth falls apart. Right, now onto the thing that's hard for me to describe, and that is what the game is about. The game is about a guy named Gunvolt, who is an adept. And adepts are people who use technology to control elements. And Gunvolt is able to control electricity. And so what he does is he uses his gun to tag people, and then he channels their electricity to destroy them. Gunvolt is a former bounty hunter who hunts down other adepts, but he quits when he rescues a singer who is part of a revolutionary group, I think. No, he finds and saves a singer who was being captured to control other adepts because her music is so good that it soothes beasts, I guess. This is the part where it gets really foggy. So he saves her, he leaves his bounty hunter group, but he still works with them on certain jobs. And he fights other adepts who are part of something called the Sumeragi group, I think. And they are basically an evil corporation who wants to use adepts to take over the world. I'm gonna be honest, even though the story is a very front and center focus of this, it's something that you can very easily forget and skip. This game has a lot of terminology on its own that makes sense if you really want to focus on it, but I wasn't too interested with all of that. I will say that this is a game that I did have a lot of fun with, and I currently am having a lot of fun with it, as I haven't finished it yet. The bosses are all very interesting and very challenging, so if you like games that are hard, definitely play this. And if you like your hard games to get even harder, this game does have different difficulty modes to make it even more difficult. I'm not sure if someone who likes casual games will be able to enjoy this, but if it sounds interesting to you, then give it a shot. But if you like casual games, you're probably not already a fan of Mega Man, because those games can be pretty brutal. I've said this with the other games, but this game does have a lot of aesthetic stuff that I think is very interesting and cool. And one of them is the very good music in this game. A lot of the music can be forgettable, but there is one song that is basically like the Revive theme song, where when your character is downed, but you have one life left, so you get revived, the singer who you save earlier in the game starts singing, and it's basically a really cool, triumphant, don't lose your way style anime song that just plays. Now, this next one is a game that I am sure needs no introduction, and if you remember the title font that I used for this video, you were probably sure that one of these games will be in here. This game is Deltarune, which is a free demo for a game that will be coming out within the next 7 years, I've heard. But I chose Deltarune specifically over Undertale, which is another game in this franchise's universe. If you've been living under a rock, Undertale is a game that came out a couple years ago. It's an RPG that is a lot like the Earthbound Mother games, and it took the internet by storm, and even though it is a wonderful, brilliant game, it did have a fandom that got a little toxic. But don't worry, the game itself is very wonderful. And I will admit right here that even though I've played Undertale, I've only done the basic initial good ending or neutral ending, and I haven't gone back to play it to get the true pacifist ending or the true genocide ending. So I will say that even though I'm a big fan of it, I haven't done all the things, but I will probably in the future try to do all of the things. Anyway, after all of that, you're probably wondering why I chose Deltarune specifically instead of Undertale. And even though I do recommend Undertale, I chose Deltarune specifically because I actually like it way more. This game felt like it was a huge improvement over the previous one, even though this game is just a short demo. I liked that there was no right way to play this, and that Toby Fox says that no matter what choices you make, there's no wrong way of doing it. Not in the way where you could get a horrible ending in regular Undertale. I'm pretty sure he said that, by the way, and that I'm not making anything up. But I did like that, even though I chose to be pacifist again. I still like that there's no sweat if I mess up and attack things. Another thing that I like is the change in the battle system and how you can control several different characters and classes. It was very much a classic Final Fantasy style thing, even though the game still retains a lot of its Undertale, Earthbound charm. Another thing that I loved, and you may know what I'm about to say because I've said it for every other game, is that I loved the aesthetics of this game. All of the school stuff and the opening of the game, and even the exact ending, all felt like it was some sort of 90s cartoon that I was watching. Like with Susie and her guitar riff opening, it was like, whoa. I don't know, it just reminded me of something that I would have watched in my childhood. And I really, really liked, and this is some kind of spoiler maybe, but the exact beginning of the game, where you go through the character creation process, and the game says, you do not choose who you are in life, that sucks, whatever, is something really profound, or something I thought was very profound at the time. And it kind of blew my mind when that happened. Another thing that I absolutely loved about this game, and this is another thing that I've said for every other game on this list, is the soundtrack was amazing. And a lot like Bastion, this is a soundtrack that I will just listen to on its own, even when I'm not playing the game. There are so many songs in this soundtrack that I absolutely love, and unlike Bastion, I can actually name the ones that I really liked, like Field of Hopes and Dreams, and the Rude Buster battle theme, and my favorite one, which is a very, very short song, and it was actually something that, like, surprisingly made me emotional when I beat the game, was the track Don't Forget. And I was like, oh, that, like, it hit me hard when I heard that, and I was like, oh, emotions. I'm kind of just now realizing that this video might not be particularly calming, because I'm very excited about everything that I talk about in this video. But that's okay. The people who watch my videos seem to be very forgiving with videos that I don't expect to do well. Anyway, I absolutely love this game, and I think there are so many things about it that I can't particularly pinpoint to be like, this is why I actually love it. There's just so much. I do think that a lot of the reason that I love Deltarune so much was because of Undertale and the experience that I had in that game. And then going back into Deltarune and seeing all these characters and having my existing emotional attachment to all of them. And, you know, just being very interested to see them again, and it was like seeing something familiar and new at the same time, or seeing something that's so nostalgic even though I've only played Undertale a couple of years before Deltarune came out. And I thought that was very interesting emotions to feel while playing the game. Another interesting feeling was being so early to play a game that my virus protection went off when I downloaded it, because less than 100 people who use my virus protection had downloaded Deltarune. And I was like, oh, I'm in an exclusive little club. It was very cool for the game to just suddenly come out, and how it was sort of non-marketed with all the Twitter accounts, and how it was like test survey everything, and I don't know, it's just very cool and mysterious. And then I played the game and I was like, oh my god, this is blowing my mind. Anyway, the video is about to end. I hope my excitement was not too much for you to be unable to relax. If you liked this video, then give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, then I'm sorry, I guess. If you want to see more videos, then subscribe to me. If you want to see the art from this video, follow me on my social media, specifically Instagram, I guess. And that's it. The picture that I'm finishing up right here is absolutely my favorite one that I've did in this entire video. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I hope you have a good night. Goodbye.